Okay, as you can see, all the processes needed to run the IMC server have started, including the J server down here at the bottom. So as I said before, the J server service is typically the last service to actually get complete its start process. And once that particular process has been started, for the most part, IMC is up and running and ready to be used. We can verify that by clicking over to the Monitor tab, and which reveals really this Stop IMC button that's kind of highlighted, right? So now all the processes have been started to the point that if I wanted to shut IMC down, I could shut IMC down. So the next thing I want to do is install one of the add-on modules that you might have downloaded or purchased for this particular installation. That particular process is pretty simple. You'll see a couple buttons over here for install and exit. The install is to install different modules, updates, upgrade packages, and so on and so forth. The exit is actually to exit out of the Intelligent Deployment Monitoring Agent. So we'll go ahead and hit install. It'll launch a process to install the different components, and the first thing it's going to ask us for is the location of the component we want to install. So we'll go ahead and collect this and go to the component we want to install, and say we want to go ahead and install the QoS Manager environment on this particular server. We'll click down through. The components will be for Windows. If we had a Linux implementation, we go ahead and go to Linux. All the manuals are also with each one of the components themselves. So if you need to understand how to configure and manage that particular module, it's there in the manual directory. So we'll click down in here to Windows. You'll see the install. We'll go ahead and click it. Hit OK, and it'll actually start the installation process. Again, brings up the traditional installation windows that we've seen, and it'll ask us to accept the license agreement for this particular module. And it's checking to see if there's already previously installed QoS Manager components, which there aren't, and it says we are just about to install it. So we'll hit next. Now here we can do an upgrade or deployment. So this is a new module, so we're going to actually deploy it now and bring it online. We could deploy or upgrade later, which would just install the installation files or the files needed for the installation, but it would not deploy it on the server itself. So we'll go ahead and just click deploy or upgrade it once and hit next. And it gives us some information or the installation summary of what's going to be installed. Hit installation, and away we go. We'll hit the batch deploy of QoS, and again we see the deploying of the module itself onto the server, and that service being deployed into the IMC environment. Okay, we've now completed the batch deployment of this particular module. That was the QoS management module. And what you've noticed now in this particular window is that while we did the installation of the module itself, it actually had to stop IMC or the processes of IMC to most likely add the database schema to the databases and do the rest of the installation, complete the rest of the installation. So it actually shut down IMC services and processes, and now it's asking me, do we want to go ahead and start it, since we've succeeded in deploying that particular module. So we'll go ahead and hit OK there. And then what I like to do is go back to processes, and you'll see that all the processes are starting at this point, right? And so they'll start coming up, and as they come up, we'll notice that the CPU and memory usage charts will start to appear again, and the application will come back alive. So we'll watch this process environment for just a couple seconds here before moving on. Okay, so now that IMC is up and running and kind of the final stages of our installation here, I want to just kind of go through and review the Intelligent Deployment Management Monitoring Agent, just so you kind of have an idea of what all the different tabs will do. I know we kind of moved back and forth between the tabs earlier in the installation, but I want to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of this particular monitoring agent environment. This is just an application that ensures or where you interact with the base platform of IMC. To work with the application itself, we will actually launch a web browser against the IP address of the server and launch and work with the application through a web browser. This is just the base kind of server system environment. So we talked a little bit about the monitor tab here where we can start and stop IMC. This is where we would install new updates, upgrade packages, new add-on modules, so on and so forth. Once I stopped IMC, I can actually hit exit and exit out of the deployment monitoring agent altogether. Okay, process tab, we've seen before. These are all the processes that IMC runs from a platform standpoint, and I can check those to make sure that everything's been started or nothing's bouncing or anything like that. The deployment tabs are all those different modules that are deployed on the platform itself, and this is where we will show even the new modules that we just installed. That QoS manager shows up here at the bottom, and that it's deployed and it's on the primary server. This final tab is the database environment tab, and it kind of gives you just an overview or a summary of what's going on in the database environment, right? So it'll kind of give you what's running in that particular environment today, and then give you some space usage information on the database itself. There are 4 different buttons down here. One, the configure button, is used to configure the auto backup and recovery type settings for the database itself. So you can enable the auto backup and restore, what its max log size, file size is, and then some backup settings if you're going to an FTP host, and so on and so forth. These are then the database environments that will be backed up during this process itself. Okay, the backup is if I wanted to go ahead and start a manual backup, I would hit backup and it'd start the manual backup process. Restore is the same thing. If I needed to restore the database from a backup, I would hit the restore button and restore that particular database. And then the view log is just to view the logging environment or DBMan process that shows what's been going on or what's been logged in the database environment. Okay, so that is the Intelligent Deployment Monitoring Agent. Let's go ahead and step into the initial launching of, say, a browser against the server itself. I'll open my browser here, and I've input the server address that I installed IMC on. So I'll do the HTTP : server address, and then I'll do a :8080 for the port that I've placed IMC to listen onto. So this is important, right? We had the discussion around which ports we wanted IMC to respond to, both in the HTTP environment and the secure HTTPS environment. So hopefully we wrote those down if we didn't go with the standard, because you'll need them here to launch the browser against IMC itself. And we'll do /IMC. So if I go into IMC now, we'll bring up this particular login screen. And it'll come up with this warning that the license we have is a trial version, and it's good for 60 days. Over here, we'll click on the activate button, and this is after you've gotten your licenses from HP. You'll need to go and activate the application itself. To get those licenses, you're going to need the product number and this serial number here. Because we'll tie the serial number and the product code to the individual license keys that we provide you. I'll just go through this quickly now, hit the activate now button, and we'll send you an activation file that will activate the IMC application itself. So we can browse for that particular file environment and register and activate host licenses, and then hit OK once I get that file and we're ready to go. Okay, so we won't do that right now. We'll go ahead and log in. Default login is admin. Oops. And we'll go ahead and log into the server once here. There are no devices in the system present. We must perform an auto discovery first. So the first task we're really going to want to do with our new deployment of IMC is to do an auto discovery. And this will be the last step that I do with you in this installation guide. So we'll come down here, do an auto discovery. I've got a small lab network. We'll just do a standard auto discovery, and we'll discover my little network here, 192.168.1.0, and we'll go to 192.1.168. No, messing up here. 168.1.254. So we'll just kind of search the whole particular subnet here that I'm on. We'll go there. And down here, the SNMP and telnet settings, if you've changed those, you'll need to know what the SNMP read and write community strings are. And then if you've got telnet access to particular devices, you'll have to tell this particular process whether you have username or passwords, no username or passwords, a super password, whatever you might have. So I believe I put a username and password on my telnet access for one of my environments, or one of my switches on the network here, and I believe it's just a simple admin again that I put, and it'll go off and do an auto discovery. So you'll see the process run here, and this can take a little bit of time as it goes and discovers the network, depending on how many devices are on the network. With that, as this can take some time, I think we'll close out this session of how-to for IMC. Hopefully this was enjoyable for everybody and was informational, and we'll see you on the next video.